Hello everyone. Recently I've been trying to port a room from Outlast to GameMaker 8, an engine from 2011, which many might consider extremely low in its 3D abilities. However, my attempt was successful, to some extent at least. Today I'd like to take a deeper look into how we made it work and show you how raw but totally not incapable 3D can be in GameMaker 8. Let's start off with the graphics. I composed the map into a single 3D model using various model and texture assets from Outlast. This was not an easy task, considering how very little amount of models contained information about their design texture. Then I remapped the model to a single material, baked the diffuse and shadow textures in Blender, put them together and imported it into GameMaker via conversion to the D3D format. Then I simply placed point lights within the engine for the purpose of colored real-time lighting. I used 3 lights in one spot to make it look brighter and applied a locked value to each light's HSV color value to make a subtle flickering effect. The door here is a separate model and object, for the purpose of it being movable. The visual effects of the player contain a vignette and some film grain. The vignette is just a stretched image and the film grain noise is a pre-generated texture that gets tiled on the display and places itself in a random position each frame. The lens flare is a texture on a plane that is constantly being rotated to look at the player on the z-axis, which in this case is the up axis. The x-axis rotation is based on the distance to the player. It is by no means perfect, but an okay solution nonetheless. The best way to do it would be to draw it as an overlay with mathematical calculations, but I'm not gonna do that. Another feature is the Quasi Volumetric glide cone, which is simply just a cone primitive that has a gradient fall-off texture. The particles that are flying all around are actually moths, because moths make anything better. They're all separate objects that get lured to a certain position, possibly changing their destination mid-flight. Their textures alpha get gradually reduced until they completely disappear and die. The camera features a more limited field of view, but also an ability to zoom in. The night vision effect was accomplished by turning off lighting and switching the room's texture to a more green and contrasted one, with shadows having less of an impact on a diffuse texture. The light flare gets multiplied for an advanced effect. Almost every variable in the project gets multiplied by a delta time variable. It is used to prevent slow motion during FPS drops, as it gives a multiplier that gets changed according to the current frames per second, allowing change by time rather than frames. A lot of values get lured for the sake of smooth transitions. That is not the best way to achieve all smooth transitions, but it is one of the easiest for me. I had to implement it manually via scripts, as well as many other functions that many take for granted nowadays. The character is just a camera with no physical body for now. It gets rotated through a lured relative mouse input variable that allows for no cursor locking. It has simple idle and walk animations implemented through a set of variables that are responsible for position and rotation offset and get changed through timelines. The player's field of view as well as animation speed change dynamically according to his movement speed. There is gravitation and 3D collisions here that are implemented via separate object colliders. These are impassable solid objects unless the player is below or above certain height. It is determined by the collider's z-scale, the player's height and z-position. I had to manually adjust all the colliders in the room and then write them down to the room's creation code. Of course, I didn't include all of the possible collisions which the player could not access. The door object is just being rotated according to player's vertical y-axis speed when they collide. So, I hope that someone might have found this video helpful in one way or another. I like pushing old, seemingly incapable engines to their limits. I also hope that I've encouraged someone to do so too, and to understand their full potential. Thank you very much for watching. The link to the project will be in the description.